language. Language is a tool. Language can be a tool for good, language can be a tool for bad. And I'm just going through a few thoughts about language as a tool. I think it's really dark. Can you guys see me okay? So, language, the use of language is a way that we all communicate our thoughts, a way to exchange information, instructions, memories, etc. Exchange information and everything else, express ourselves. So, language is a tool to do those things. I love communicating. I love communicating in verbal form, in written form, in non-verbal form. I'm a very expressive person. I love the use of languages. I speak two languages, Twi, which is a Ghanaian language from the Ashanti tribe, and I speak English also, as well as communicating in words. Everybody knows that communication is it 10% verbal and 90% non-verbal. So communication can be quite a complicated affair in regards to what is being communicated and who it's being communicated to. I do love to read. I've always loved reading since I was really young. I'm happy to consume information through the written word, although some people would prefer communicating verbally. I I personally don't believe that you need a language to be able to express your thoughts. I don't believe that, but I have seen somewhere that some people believe that in order to communicate or express yourself, you need a language. I disagree. However, the word language can be quite broad. So, yeah, the word language I believe can be quite broad because you've got sign language, which is not a verbal form of communication. So you've got sign language, you've got other different forms of communication. But I think from a young age, we're taught how to communicate one with one another using language, using non-verbal cues. It's also interesting how language can be influenced by external factors. So, for an example, the language you use can be full of barriers due to your tone, due to your appearance, due to your status in life. So I don't believe it's who's taking away their likes. Okay, please like the live. Please don't take it back once you've liked it, but please like the live. Yeah, so language can be a form of communication, although I do not believe that's the only form of communication. There can be barriers in using languages. There can be barriers, especially if there's a hierarchy. Some languages have a hierarchy in who can use which type of language to who, where and when, in what setting. So it can become quite complicated. The benefit of speaking more than one language is that you it's possible for you to have more than one outlook on words and on how to express yourself and communicate with other people. Being able to go from one language to the next can allow you to have different perspectives on life, because you do get a feel for someone's culture from the language that they use. Not always, but sometimes you get a feel for a culture through the language that you speak. So being able to speak more than one language can be quite beneficial to you, in that you have different perspectives on what words mean and the limitation of using the words as well. Because in some languages, the language may not be adequate to communicate things in modern society. An example I can give to that is in the English language, they update their language quite often. So in the English language, they will add new words as different words are created, different words are coined. So an example of that will be millennium, Generation X, bling, BBL, I guess. So there's certain words that have come into the everyday lexicon. Like there's words that have now become like everyday, that have come into everyday use, which is now introduced officially into the English language. At the beginning, that may be through slang, or it just may be inserted in the Oxford Dictionary. The benefit of that is that the language stays up to date with current affairs, modern day society, and changes in society, as in, you know, a cis woman, cis man, you know, all these types of words. I'm not sure I knew, but they are more common now, and they're introduced into our vocabulary, and the English language is updated with it. In contrast to that, you have other languages that are quite ancient, that have been around for centuries, that have never updated their language to include modern day terms. For example, car, yacht, cosmetic surgery. So these three simple words did not exist when some ancient languages were created, were in use. So the difficulty in that is when we do speak certain ancient languages, we're not able to communicate. We don't have words to describe modern day things. We'll just have to use English words and say computer and say mobile phone and say, do you see what I mean? So some languages can have a limitation because of not being updated on a regular basis. Hello, Opal. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for your compliment. How's your Sunday going so far? And which language do you speak? So I'll give an example. Like when I was young and we came to London from Ghana, obviously we all used to speak our language at home and everything. And I went into school and we were doing arts and crafts. And arts and crafts is when you get glitter and you get, you know, coloured paper and you get little stars and you pick what coloured glitter you want on here and you tie it up with string and you hang it on the roof. So we did all these arts and crafts in primary school, and when I came home, my family asked me in our language that, hey, how was school? What did you do? And then I realised that I didn't have any words in our language that could describe what we done in school, in arts and crafts. And even though I was really young, I just made a decision that, okay, from now on, I'm just going to switch my thought process into English, because there just weren't enough words to describe what I was doing in London. Your day's stressful, you speak English. I'm so sorry you're having a stressful day. I hope the weather has gone some way to ease your day. It's lovely weather outside. It's quite sunny. It's really warm. There was a vicious rumour going around on Friday that we weren't going to have any more nice weather. So I hope the weather has gone some way to make your day less stressful. And what time does your stress end? Yeah, so that's one of the limitations in some languages, in that they don't update the language to fit with modern society. So then you find yourself looking for English words anyway when you're communicating with people, which is not a bad thing. You know, it's fine, but it's just something to point out. Also, language can be weaponized, obviously. Language can be weaponized. For example, You know, if you're in school and you're being teased about the way you look, about the way you talk, about your family background, about, you know, a whole variety of things. Language can be weaponized to bully people. In the adult world, it's probably easier to navigate because, you know, you can report people for hate crime, or at work you can go to HR about bullying. But I would say the most vulnerable spaces in relationships and in schools, because people can weaponize language in order to bully you, belittle you, and just make you feel insecure, afraid, or just really low, which is horrible. Also, as well, languages can create an atmosphere. We can use language to create an atmosphere. An example of that would be at a concert or at a party or at a wedding. You know, language is used in those instances to communicate, you know, positive positive moments, sacred moments in regards to wedding vows, and yeah, and just feel good vibes. So language can be made to create an atmosphere. I would say, I would say so I love reading. I've always loved reading. I love books. I love reading books. And I like talking, as you might have noticed. But I do love to talk. I love expressing myself. Me and my friends, we used to be on the phone for hours just talking. And it's only looking back on it that I realised that we were using words just to bond one with another. Also as well, from, you know, from traveling or meeting new people or exploring different hobbies, you're able to widen your vocabulary in order to express these new experiences, in order to express, you know, to talk about the places you've been, or to just to get to know more people. You widen your vocabulary, which which goes in your favor, because you just never know what you need in order to be able to communicate. I mean, being able to express yourself and communicate, I would say can sometimes be more important than your actual character, because I believe that's how people are able to blag, because they may not be people of substance, but they've got the gift of the gab, you know. Or there may be situations where you know, you need to you know, be represented, or you need to put a case forward, or for an example, a job interview. Being able to having a confident hold of language takes you really far, in life. Also as well, if you're spiritual, language can be used to take you to a spiritual place. You know, words and, you know, just prayers and preaching and, you know, holy books and all these things aren't just only contained with words, but words make this environment really important and are ways for us to enter into that spiritual place for some of us. As I said, the use of words can be weaponized. You know, sometimes you can get backhanded compliments from people. So sometimes somebody may say something good, but they might say it in a bad way to you. For an example, I wasn't feeling well on Tuesday at work, and I felt better throughout the day, and then in the afternoon somebody said to me, "Oh well, you look better than you did this morning," which is a very subtle way of throwing some shade, because they've said something nice like "I look better now," but then to top that off with "you look better than you did this morning," it's just kind of a double-edged compliment. So sometimes words can be used to to communicate things to people.
Madam TikTok.
Sorry, my partner's just come on. I'm on live. Also, as well, language can be used to communicate love. you know. Obviously, we have non-verbal things we do to communicate love, but language is a way we can do that. Um, it can be a way to problem solve. It can be a way just to get to come to a solution. Language is really important. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to come on here and talk about language as a tool. It's very useful. Um, I would definitely say that if you're able to get a confident hold on a language, at least one, it will hold you in good stead. Like it will come in handy. When you're speaking in public, you'll be more confident, I believe, and just being able to pick and choose what type of words to use when you express yourself, you know, not feeling limited to use repetitive words is also a type of freedom that's quite liberating, to have a selection of words that you can use to express yourself, to communicate information, to resolve issues. I would say is beneficial to yourself. For an example, if you go for a job interview and you're being asked different questions, it's helpful to be able to choose from a range of words, give examples with different, you know, giving examples from a wide range of you know, of memory. And yeah, it's just really useful. So I would say, like, I love languages. I love language. I love speaking. I only speak two languages, but yeah, I just think it's really good if you're gonna because there's some people that they have a lot to offer, however they're unable to communicate effectively, and then you get people that may not have as much to offer, but they have the gift of the gab. They have the gift of the gab, and you know, that comes first place every time, unless you know your audience is somebody that's willing to look a little bit deeper or spend a little more time to look beyond the surface. But when you do have a lot to offer in different capacities, but be unable to communicate effectively or express yourself, it can become a hindrance. Obviously, language isn't the only form of expression. You know, there's arts, there's and art is such a broad, you know, it's such a broad label for all types of ways of communicating. I would count cooking as art, you know. I would count cooking as art, and I believe cooking can be a way to communicate, definitely. And so, you know, some people may feel like if they have an accent, that can put a limitation on the language they use. I disagree. I mean, I used to have a really good friend, and he stutters, and he leaned into it. He leaned into it. Like when he would speak, when he would do public speaking, he would have the attention of the whole room, you know, and that's with a stutter. But he was able to accept himself for who he is, and to become confident in communicating effectively, you know, using language, and he didn't allow the stutter to become an obstacle. And honestly, you know, he's a very successful man in so many different capacities. Very successful, not just financially, but just in regards to character, in regards to influence, in regards to reputation, in regards to personality. You know, just yeah, he didn't allow that to limit his use of language and communication. Hello to Bing Bong. How is your day? Please let me know which language you speak. I've always wanted to learn another language. There was a time I wanted to learn Igbo, but I didn't get to learn it. There was a time I wanted to learn Turkish for employment reasons, because lots of people I was interacting with were Turkish. So I tried to learn Turkish. I used the Duolingo and I didn't get far. But I wish I'd persevered because obviously I would have gotten a lot further by now. So I wish I had persevered. But yeah, I've always wanted to speak a second language. My partner speaks Arabic, he speaks Hausa, he speaks Italian-ish. He speaks ghetto Italian, I guess. Um, but yeah, yeah, so that's it really. But yeah, I love reading. I love books. I mean, I always like, give me a good book. Give me a good book, and I'm gone. Like, I'm gone. And I always used to think to myself, like, I'm not gonna lie, I always used to think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm so good at picking good books. Because most of the books I pick up were like just educational, encouraging, funny, eye-opening, you know, heart stirring, thrilling, scary. And I just used to always feel like, oh my gosh, I'm really good at picking good books because I felt like most of my books were really good. But then the other side to that, as I got older, I said, no, actually, the the whole point of that is I just love reading. So practically every book I'd pick up, I'd end up saying, oh, this is the best book ever. This is the best book ever. Not necessarily because it was the best book ever, but because I just love to read. And, you know, if reading isn't your thing, you know, maybe audiobooks is your thing. But what I would definitely say is, okay, I have to go now. No, I have to go now. But yeah, so what I would say is, I encourage you to just get a grasp of a second language if possible, and lean into your first language. And another thing I always do, if somebody says a word I don't understand, I always ask them, oh, what does that word mean? Or I will look it up myself. And so in that way, I'm always trying to learn new things. Anyway, thank you for joining my live. Sorry it's quite short today. I will be back next week, and please like the live, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.